Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today I want to talk a little bit about world lines and why they need to be anchored. Okay, essentially, if you cooked a bunch of spaghetti noodles, long spaghetti noodles, or vermicelli if you want to, long noodles, make a bunch of it, and then you drain it out and you have it in a colander, and then you go swap, and it's on a plate. That's what your world lines look like. Any given moment you are hopping from one little line of spaghetti to another one. Now, as I've discussed before, a world line. Okay, let's talk a couple things. A world line, for our purposes, is a momentary point in time and space associated with an environment. Okay, well, apparently the commander he wants me to be very specific about what I'm saying and doing here, okay? So imagine a world line as being infinitesimally long, from the far depths of the earliest time to the far future. But we have a lifeline that your consciousness occupies, and it looks like a comb. So we take these wet world lines and we put one after another after another after another in the teeth of this comb. Okay? So you're born, and then you hop from world line to 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 world line till you die, and then you leave. Okay? And what I want to talk about here is why there's this need to stabilize or anchor world lines. You see, imagine that wet spaghetti, okay? Now all that wet spaghetti is that comb. So if you can imagine your comb being like wet spaghetti now. So it's just the wet spaghetti with little dots. Each dot is what I call a world line. That's your intersection of the momentary moment that your consciousness is in that particular world line. So it's sitting there. And they're all together like a big, massive plate of spaghetti. As long as all the spaghetti is on the plate, you have a stable reality. But world lines, these consciousness-controlled lifelines, the consciousness-controlled lifelines are wet, and they're like they interface with other lifelines, and it's like magnets and that repel or oppose, and you have sort of like this kind of wiggly kind of plate of spaghetti, and as you wiggle this plate of spaghetti, it kind of settles down. As you wiggle it, the spaghetti kind of settles down. As you wiggle it more, it settles down. Anchoring of this plate is you grab hold of it and it stops moving. Set it on the table, and you can eat it. Once you stop anchoring it, it continues to shake, rattle, and roll. The reason it shakes, rattle, and roll is due to gravitational influences. Gravitational influences associated with this reality universe. The reason why world lines in this reality universe move towards entropy is due to large gravitational influences, in particular, the moon. So not only does the moon contribute towards messing up our ability to control and recall things and occupy a full soul, and separates and segments the soul into medium and higher energy, Manted and Manted GP and Manted Prime, but it also acts as a shaker table that shakes this plate. And the world lines have a tendency to, not world lines, lifelines have a tendency to move off. Actually, the world lines have a tendency to move off, and the lifelines associated with that have a tendency to move off. When they fall off the plate, they go onto the table or onto the floor, maybe onto your lap. When this happens, they are no longer influencing or influenced by the other world lines. The baseline template becomes the baseline template becomes plain, featureless. Your ability to change and experience things decreases substantially. If you don't experience things, your connection to your higher energy selves becomes less strong, and you start seeing delamination. Delamination from yourselves. Delamination from yourselves means you cannot reunify. The Manted GP, the Manted Prime in your consciousness can never reassemble again, cannot interact with each other again, and are trapped in a kind of void. So, when that happens, it's another ball game. I can't imagine what a plain life would be in this situation. I can't possibly imagine it, but what I can imagine is not being able to have your higher selves, and not being able to have the ability to have any experiences either. You just become, my God, use tissue paper? Is that what happens? So that's basically the reason why we have to anchor the world lines. Okay? There's an interaction of all the souls, all the consciousness, and the way the consciousness thinks that creates the reality templates. But the reality templates, the nature of the reality templates are not stable because of the moon-earth environment. It causes a shaking and disruption. If you don't anchor them, then you have all kinds of problems. I hope this was beneficial for you guys. I hope you learned from it. I hope that you obtained some good information here. I'm sure it brought up other questions and other issues, but this is the best way I can use right now to explain to you the nature of why things need to be anchored. As before, I've always talked about how if you don't anchor things, I showed you how world lines and lifelines could influence each other, and then you set them apart and you anchor them so that the bad influences don't happen. But another way of viewing it is the plate of spaghetti. Okay? Whether they're influencing in a negative way or they don't even influence at all is immaterial to this. Think of a drop off the plate, okay? In a void of some type. You may drop off the plate a couple of strands that you're interacting with, so it may not be all that terrible, but your ability to communicate to your higher energy selves, the Manted's GP, Manted's Prime, is severely retarded. Okay? That's the reality. That's how it works. Okay, people, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you learned from it. And in every way and in every day, I hope that your life gets better and better because, well, I believe in you. That's why.